Let me know if the screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Fine. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So welcome to the topic of assemblers, which is a assembler design options. So far we have talked about in length about the assembler, the need, why we are going with the two passes, why not one pass, why not more than two. We know that generally two passes are sufficient, but of course there are some special or specific cases where we may need to have a multiple passes or single pass will do. So that is what we have started, but in general we thought a two pass assembler is sufficient for a assembler to process the given assembly level program. Later we touched upon various features of mission dependent. So one among them was how to generate an object program. The second one was a program relocation. Second, we have talked about mission independent assembler features. We have seen 5 of them. So they being literals, statements, expressions, program blocks, and control sections. So hope you have a clarity between these 5 concepts, especially program blocks and control section, because there is a room for a little bit of a confusion here. So hope that confusion is no more with you. So program blocks are mainly to logically rearrange the given program. So there is no physical rearrangement, whereas in the case of control section, the program is totally rearranged physically itself. So that is a major difference. And second being USC is the assembler directive that we use in program blocks, whereas we use CSECT in the case of a control section. So these are some of the key differences we have seen, but that's what you should be having with you to have a idea clearly about what are program blocks and control section. Now the next topic is, having said these are the various concepts related to assemblers, let us see what are the various design options we can have in assemblers. So we have seen, as we discussed, a two-pass assembler. And if you remember in the beginning, we touched upon an assembler can be a one-pass, assembler can be a two-pass, assembler can be a more than two-pass called as a multi-pass. But in general, for a typical assembly language program, a two-pass assembler is required, and we have seen that. So the design of a two-pass assembler has seen so far by us. So in the examination, they might confuse you by asking a question, design a two-pass assembler. So they normally ask a question like explain the pass 1, pass 2 of a assembler, data structures, all this. But they might ask you as well, discuss the design of a two-pass assembler. You need not be surprised. What is the two-pass assembler? Whatever we have discussed so far is an example of a two-pass assembler. What you should be writing? Write the functionality of pass 1, write the functionality of pass 2, what are the data structures we have, how the processing is done, take an example. So this is what typically a design of a two-pass assembler that we have seen so far. Now we are working at a two concepts, two important topics rather. One is a one-pass assembler, other one is a multi-pass assembler. So what is this one-pass assembler? As the name says, one pass, in the sense we are going to have, we are going to rather look at a design of an assembler which requires only one pass. That means I am exploring to have an assembler such that even in one iteration, even in one scan, I am able to complete the assembler process. Is that possible? Maybe. Second case, we are looking at a multi-pass assembler, wherein whatever the two-pass assembler we have, that is not sufficient. We require more passes, 3 passes, 4. Multi-pass is general word. You can have 3, 4, 5 passes depending upon the how complex the program is all about. So before coming to this discussion, let us go back to our two-pass assembler. If you remember the discussion what we had during two-pass assembler, the need for two-pass basically. So in one pass, what we used to do, we scan the program, we assign the addresses wherever forward references are used. Wherever forward references are used, their labels are identified, stored in the symbol table, their addresses are stored. When I take the second stage, when I take the second pass, all these addresses of a forward references are resolved. Thereby, in the second phase or second stage or second pass, assembling the given program becomes easy for me. Thereby, in general, 2 passes are required. So meaning that forward references are those which are going to be a bottleneck while looking at the design options of an assembler. In the other sense, if someone asks you why the design options are varying, what is that reason behind having a various design options? What is the answer you should be having? The design options are varying because assemblers are dealing with the forward references. What do you mean by forward reference? We have been seen in the maybe high level language. Let me take a C++. You declare a class A, you declare a class B, you declare a class C. You keep defining class A separately, class B separately, class C separately. Consider a situation where in class B, I want to use an object of a class A. Imagine the situation now. I have a class A, I have class B, I have class C. In class B, I want to use the object of a class A. How is that possible? I can use by making A and B both friends to each other. Or I can define A first, later I can define B, then I can use A by making friend of B. Imagine I have declared C first, I have declared a class C first, then I have a class B, then I have a class A. That is how the order of my declaration. When I am in class B, when I am trying to use class A, so class A is not at all defined yet. So when sitting at class B, the compiler might have a confusion. Where is a class B? Class A object itself is not available. There is no class for object class B. So it says that it is an error simply because class A is not yet defined. But there is a solution for this. What is the solution? We can refer object A before class B such that we're informing class B that don't worry, at this point of time, there is a class object by name A. You try to use it, it is defined elsewhere, but nothing to worry. If you do not do that reference before class B, so class B, compiler when it processes class B, props as it as a error. So what is the solution we have now? We are informing that in future, forward reference, meaning that when I'm in class B, class A object is not available, it is later referenced. That means forward. I need to go further. Then only I will be able to identify that object. But that I need to tell well in advance. So like a global variable, you have to inform the class B that there is a class A and its object is available in later stage of the program. But when you are in class B, even though class A is undefined, you can still use it without any error. So don't flag any error. So we are doing that by keeping class A or object A as a forward reference. By making it as a forward reference before class B, we are informing that it is there available, but it is not available yet while you are in the B. That is the concept. So similarly here in assembly language program also, if you do not inform the assembler well in advance the address of the each reference or each label that we have used, then probably we have to rescan the entire program and get the address done. So that is the reason why we have gone with the 2 passes, where in 2 passes the problem of getting the addresses for these labels or references is easily sorted out. Thereby in entire pass 1 we start looking at addresses for each of them, store them in the symbol table. In pass 2 we comfortably make use of them and design our assembler or get our object program. So that was very simple case what you have seen now. Now coming to our discussion today, we are exploring, is it possible or is it required to have a 1 pass assembler? Second, is it required to have a multi-pass assembler? The first one, let us see 1 pass assembler. So 1 pass assembler, is it required if somebody asks? Not required. When I have a 2 pass assembler, which is also having a 1 pass, I can run the same 2 pass assembler. My problem is done. My program is done. However, 2 pass assembler, as the name says, 2 iterations, and you are going to consume some time. Thereby, if somebody who is very serious about time, you appreciate now through analysis and design of algorithms, time complexity. Time is more critical or crucial when you're running a program. So when I have a big program, which is one pass assembler is required, if I put it for a 2-pass assembler, obviously I am taking a lot of time. Where I'm supposed to take 1 minute, I may take 3 minutes, which should be avoided from the system perspective. If that is the case, when normally that happens in the R&D, you're doing some research and development, you do some trial and error methods, you run a small program, you want to quickly analyze that, get to know what is a bug in that, try to debug like that. If that is the case, probably you may want to complete it at the earliest, as early as possible. So you cannot afford to go for a 2-pass assembler. So 1-pass assembler, if at all you want to design, you should be very careful that 2 things. One, that program should not have any forward references. So to avoid more than a 1 pass, what is the better thing? Avoid forward reference, meaning that you define the label early, start using that. Define the label early, start using that. That may not be possible always. You may wish to avoid that, but you may not face. However, second case, okay, you wanted to avoid, you could not avoid. Second, even if you can't avoid, try to reduce them. Instead of using 10 times, try to use it for 4 times. Thereby, you can avoid the overhead on the assembler. So by doing so, you are going to invite some other extra burden for this. No doubt, all the references should be resolved. But you are trying to have a 1-pass assembler instead of 2-pass assembler. So you have to pay the penalty for it. That is what we call it overhead. What is the penalty? Whatever the forward references you are still using, try to make a room for that. So you need to have an additional data structure, that deals with the whatever the forward references we have used still. So that is the concept of a 1-pass assembler. So 1-pass assembler, what is the design option? Yes, as the name says, we are going to scan the program only once. Only 1 pass is going to be there. So is it not going to be difficult? Yes, it is going to be difficult. But what is ideal situation? An ideal situation to have a 1-pass assembler is to have the program without any forward reference. If you have a program, a source program of assembly language where there is no forward reference, then absolutely 1-pass assembler is the best. However, practically you cannot write a program without the forward reference. It's very difficult. Then the actual work of your program is not going to be that great. So you may have to use some of them. So in a program of a 10 line, you may use to have 1 or 2. If that is the case, if possible, try to reduce them. If you can't reduce, still okay. Since you have a forward reference and 1-pass assembler cannot deal with forward references, you should have an extra mechanism for that. Extra mechanism is what we call it as a overhead or a extra burden. How is that mitigated? That is mitigated using an additional data structure, which is a linked list. So let us see how it is being done now. That is the concept of a 1-pass assembler. So this is what we have discussed. Typically, a normal assembler has a 2 passes. That is what we know. But it is possible to have even a simpler version of an assembler with 1 pass. And when there is a need for a multiple passes, we'll also see that example. We can go for a multi-pass assembler. And 1-pass assembler, as we know, we have a issue with that. What is the issue? Forward references cannot be dealt properly. So best way is to avoid the forward references. But we cannot avoid forward references. So we need to go for some solution via media solution to mitigate the forward references as far as the assembler is concerned. What are those? So these ways are better to have an additional data structure called as a linked list. Okay, so that's how we have a 1-pass assembler. Of course, 1-pass assembler, as we know, it is not for a normal case. It is for a research and development majorly, where you are going to write a program and test it for a many number of times. So you cannot afford to go for a 2-pass assembler, which consumes space, which consumes time. So better to have 1-pass assembler where you can reduce the time. So that is the case. We have 2 varieties of 1-pass assembler, just for understanding. So there are, since it is a 1-pass assembler, purpose is to immediately execute the program. So we have an assembler that creates only object program for immediate execution, which is called as a load and go assembler. meaning that the object code is not saved anywhere in the program. It is like a on the go. So you have a source program, you compile, run, get the result, over. Nowhere the object program is stored in the system. That type of one pass assembler is called as a load and go assembler. There is another variety which is a usual variety, where you have one pass assembler that creates a usual object program, store it somewhere and use it for the later execution. This is only internal design, you need not be worried too much, but this is how the load and go assembler is there, meaning that that is going to be a assembler which takes the source program, object code is created, but object code is executed but not saved. Once execution is over, it is automatically removed from the system. Thereby, we call such type of assemblers as a load and go assembler. This is just a variety what you have. That is not a thing that you need to keep in mind right now. But understand that one pass assembler is the one where forward references need to be avoided. If at all we have, we need to deal with them properly. How to deal with them? To deal with them, we need an additional overhead in terms of a data structure called as a linked list. How is that done? Let us see now. So we know that the one which is used for the load and go assembler is immediately return the program and execution is over, removed from the system. So this is, as we know, this is required for our very quick research and development and testing purposes. That's fine. So let us come back to this now. The assembly of a one pass assembler. So one pass assembler now, idealistic way is to avoid forward reference. But if you have a forward reference, nothing to worry. Let us take an example. So this is a program. So I have a small skeleton program here. So this program has line number 10 at start, line number 20, JSub, RDREC, 30 end. Assume RDREC is a forward reference here, meaning that it is not defined between line number 10 and 20, but it is defined later somewhere between line number 20 to 30. So when you are at line number 20, I do not know what is the value of a RDREC. Such things only we call them as a forward references. So how to deal with that? Since there is a one pass assembler, I have no room to do anything else. So what I will do now, I will process. Keep on processing up to line number 19. So up to this, we will process line number 19. When I come to line number 20, JSub is there. So RDREC, I do not have any answer for this because I don't have the object code for this. So what I will do now, so we'll mark that with dash dash dash. So while creating object program, the specific thing, this is related to RDREC at this address. I am not having the address of that because it is a forward reference. So temporarily a space is created in the memory because finally it has to be loaded into memory. So while loading into memory, you are loading everything except the one which is a forward reference. So temporarily, very temporarily, that space is kept vacant. So how to deal with that now? To deal with that now, we have a symbol table, which is an extended symbol table, we can say, where RDREC is stored. But at that time, when I am having RDREC, its number is not known to me, so it is a star. So I have to provide an additional data structure called as a linked list. So I am telling the system that, okay, in future, whenever you get to know the address of RDREC, you try to put that into the memory at 1011. Right now, if you remember, at 1011, I have written a very small number here. 1011 is kept vacant because this is a place where I have to put the address of RDREC, and I'm informing the symbol table in the form of in linked list that whenever I get to know the value of RDREC, immediately try to put that address in the location 1011 so that my one pass assembler can comfortably complete the whatever the object code generation we want. So that is the solution. So one pass assembler is required only for situations where very quick research, very quick testing, very quick development is taking place. If that is the case, probably one pass assembler is required, because If you go to 2-pass assembler, it is going to consume a lot of time. So for that purpose, we can have 1-pass assembler. But the challenge is, when you have a forward reference, it is difficult to engage or mitigate them or find solution. So solution is in terms of a linked list. So we'll attach another linked list for the symbol table wherever the forward references are encountered, such that whenever those forward reference labels are identified in the program, their actual address is considered, and that will be stored back in the memory as we have seen here. So this is the idea behind the 1-pass assembler. Okay, so this is design of a 1-pass assembler. In the exam, they might ask you, explain the design of a 1-pass assembler. What you should be writing? You should write why 1-pass is required. Even if it is required, what the problem we are going to have. If it is a problem, how we are going to solve it. So 3 concepts. So first is 1-pass assembler is required for what? For quick testing, for quick development and research. Second, how it is being done? It is being done using a forward references, and hence forward references are going to be a problem in the 1-pass design. So what is the solution? Solution is to mitigate that forward references in 1-pass assembler, we need to have a linked list separately only for those places where forward references are there, and hence symbol table will be extended symbol table to have or to accommodate these new things, which is a linked list. So that is the idea behind the 1-pass assembler. Okay. So your regular object program remains same. Your header record, text record, end record, all those will be same in this particular program as well. So any doubt so far about 1-pass assembler? They're all important to understand. Forget about exam, at least to you to understand how the design is there. Design means how you look at the problem. What are the challenges that might occur? Okay. So go through that. If you have any doubts, we'll discuss. Let me complete the attendance before that. Asta?
Present, sir.
Abhinav? Aishwarya?
Present, sir.
Amrish? Anu?
Present, sir.
Arbaz? Arjun?
Present, sir.
Ashok?
Present, sir.
Vinita? Vinita? Bhargavi? Bhavisha?
Sir.
Who? Bhavisha? Bhargavi?
Bhavisha present, sir.
Okay. Chaitra?
Present, sir.
Chatterjee? Diksha?
Present, sir.
Deepika LG?
Present, sir.
Deepika MB?
Present, sir.
Murali Krishna?
Present, sir.
Gangubai? Guria Kumari? Harshit?
Present, sir.
Chunjar Singh?
Present, sir.
Kavya?
Sir, present, sir.
Kishore Kumar?
Present, sir.
Lata?
Yes, sir.
Manisha?
Present, sir.
Manjunath?
Yes, sir.
Naina? Nilanjan? Nishant?
Present, sir.
Pavitra?
Present, sir.
Maithili?
Present, sir.
Priyanka?
Present, sir.
Pawan? Akash?
Present, sir.
Rajeshwari?
Present, sir.
Rakesh?
Present, sir.
Ramya?
Present, sir.
Rashmi?
Present, sir.
Ravishankar? Rizwan,
Present, sir.
Vishal,
Present, sir.
Savita,
Yes, sir.
Shruti, Sneha,
Yes, sir.
Spurti,
Present, sir.
Srinidhi, Srinivas,
Present, sir.
Sunil,
Sir, present, sir.
Vaishnavi,
Present, sir.
Vinny.
Present, sir.
Okay, nice. Any doubts in one pass
Present, sir.
assembly? Pardon?
Shruti, present, sir.
Shruti,
Sir, Ambrish present, sir.
Arfaz,
Ambrish.
Ambrish. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
Gangubai, present, sir.
Ganguba, yes. Okay. Did you understand one pass? Any doubts? No doubts? Why people don't speak? Any answers? Understood or not?
Understood, sir.
Okay. Yes, okay, okay. No, why you take so much time? Let others answer antana hege. Okay, fine. So in the similar lines, let us look at the multi-pass assembler. But before we go to multi-pass, let us understand why we need multi-pass assembler. Let us take an example. Take example here, which is alpha is equal to beta. We have discussed it earlier, but now this is a time to understand multi-pass assembler. First, let us see why the need for multi-pass assembler. So alpha equal to beta. So beta is equal to delta. And delta is equal to, let me write one more. Delta is equal to gamma. Maybe gamma is equal to something else. This is gamma, let us say. So now I have alpha equal to beta, beta equal to delta, delta equal to gamma, and gamma with some value. Now assume this program I have given to a two-pass assembler. Now first pass, alpha equal to beta. So when I am here, it is waiting for beta value. Beta value is not available. So this line cannot be processed in pass 1. So it will come here, beta equals to delta. So delta is also not processed because delta value is not known. Then delta equals to gamma. This also cannot be processed because gamma value is not known. Next we say gamma reserved 1. So in pass 1, this value is resolved. Now pass 2. Again, alpha is equal to beta, not possible. Beta equals to delta, not possible. Delta equal to gamma, yes, possible because gamma value is available in pass 1. So when I give this to pass assembler, out of alpha, beta, delta, gamma, only 2 are resolved. That is, gamma is resolved, delta is resolved. How about alpha, beta? Alpha is also not processed, beta is also not processed. So two-pass assembler cannot process when you have a nested. This is an example for a nested type of a values or labels. So alpha depends on beta, beta depends on delta, delta depends on gamma, gamma depends on something else. So when they have an intrinsic, when you have a nested kind of a dependency, on multiple labels or multiple symbols, more than 2 layers, probably we need to end up with a multi-pass assembler. So let me know how many passes are required for this now. This particular example, how many pass assembler is required for me? How many passes are required?
4.
4.
4, sir.
Exactly. Because to complete gamma, first pass, to complete delta, second pass, to complete beta, third pass, and to complete alpha, fourth pass. So 4 instructions with 4 levels of interdependency. We require a 4 pass assembler. Similarly, if you have a 3, 5, 6, depending upon that internal dependency of these labels, we need to have so many number of passes to process the given assembly language program. So if that is the case, is it required? First of all, yes, maybe situations where we have this type of internal dependency. If that is the case, your 1 pass, 2 pass cannot be a solution for this. You need to go for a multi-pass assembler. Remember, these assemblers are a design options, not mandatory. A mandatory option is a 2-pass assembler that can solve 90% of the problems. But in case, extreme cases, you may go for a 1-pass assembler. If you are dealing more problems of a research and development and very quick testing where you don't want to waste time, or if you have a dependency of this category, you can also look. We are just giving an idea how or why we need a various pass assemblers, which is going to make a room for such that we require a multiple passes in the assembly processing. Just to give an idea for you. So these are the design options, not a mandatory things that we need to have. So 1 pass is also design option, which is required for some extreme cases. Multi-pass also is required for some extreme case where we have a more than 2 nestings or more than 2 layers that are going to be part of our symbols or labels. Now, what is the solution now? So what solution we had in 1-pass assembler? What was the problem in 1-pass assembler? When I am in line 1, okay, let us take our own example. When I am in line 20, I was not knowing what was the value of RD, REC. It is somewhere given here in this between 20 to 30. So when I am at line number 20, when I do not know RD, REC, what was the solution we had? We have created a linked list. Same process we'll have here as well. When I am at alpha equal to beta, when I do not know the value of beta, I cannot stop it. What I have to do? I have to have a proper information being used in my system. So when there is interdependency, here also we start using this. So when I am into alpha, I require value of beta. Where is beta? Beta is at some location, and that location is what I am going to attach. So here also the solution for multi-pass assembler forward reference problem is the linked list only. The linked list is the solution mechanism to process either 1-pass assembler or a multi-pass assembler. So the problem of multi-pass is, why you need multi-pass in basic thing? We need a multi-pass when more than 2 levels of interdependency is there with the labels or symbols in a given program as a part of forward references. Then we need to go for a multiple passes. How many passes? We don't know. That depends on the internal dependency. Internal dependency can be 2 layer, 3 layer, 4 layer, 5 layer. Depending upon those layers, we need to have so many number of passes. Okay, having said that, assume we need a 3 or 4 layer or 4-pass assembler. If that is the case, how we are going to mitigate that? We can mitigate as a system that by having a linked list as a additional data structure attached to each such label which is undefined. So let us take an example which will be clear for you. This is the example what we have. So I have a program which is don't worry about the names, just understand the number of dependency or the levels of dependency. I'm at line number 1. Line number 1, I have HASFSZ is defined to have max len by 2. So where is max line? It is after line number 1. So it is a forward reference. So maxlen is having buffend and buffer. Where are buffend and buffer? After this, somewhere here. So they are also forward references. So next, what is previous byte? This is also buffer. So where is the buffer? Buffer is later. So all these maxlen, buffend, buffer are a forward references, and hence we need to deal. How many forward references? See, offjet, maxlen. So maxlen is not defined. Maxlen depends on two. So like that, we have a more than 2 layers, 2 levels. Thereby, it is a fit case for a multi-pass assembler. So first, let us see how system is going to deal with them. So this is quite important. Okay. No doubt we require a data structure called linked list, but how it is being dealt is what you have to understand. When I am in line number 1, my first one is offjet. So offjet is entered into the symbol table. This is a symbol table. When I am entering offjet, I am looking at how many values are forward references here. How many values are forward references here? So only one value by name maxlen. So I am representing that with a &1. What is the meaning of this now? Offset is a label which is currently undefined because it depends on one forward reference. &1 talks about the number of forward reference labels. Okay, one reference. What is that? That is nothing but maxlen by 2. So you are going to write the actual instruction or label followed by the number of interdependencies and what are they. And we are putting 0 because you don't know the address of it. Null pointer. Null. This is a linked list. Now, when you are here maxlen, you are, because you know it is a forward reference. So add that into symbol table. Keep it quiet because we don't know the value of it anytime right now. When you know the maxlen, I need to give the link that when I get the address here, try to fill this address. So this two-way link now. When you are at offjet, you are telling max length is missing. When you are at max length, you are telling that your data is required for offjet. So both the ways you are connecting each other. So like that, we'll do for max length previous byte. The next diagram probably you will understand how this is being done. So similarly, all those variables have been added here. So buffend is also added. Offjet is again added already. Max length. So if you look at max length, you written &2. Why? Because it depends on 2 variables. One is a buffend, other one is a buffer. So it is a &2. So that's why it is written like this. So like this, we keep adding them. Now let us come to this now. So this is the first diagram, first one. Second diagram, we have added some of the variables, and third diagram, we have also added some of them. So after this is done, just to understand where are the depending, this is how the linked list is growing, depending upon which all the dependent labels. So all of them will be given. Now you can see 0, 0, 0 because the values are not known for us. Now, after some passes, you will get to know 1, 1 value. So buffer value is known to you. Previous bit is value is known to you. Like that, when you know 1, 1 value, you can see the number of linked list 1, 2, 3, 4 has reduced to 2 now because the values are known. Once the values are known, those values are fitted already back to the missing places. Like that, at the end, you will get to know this one. So after all passes, in this case, maybe 4 passes, after all passes, you will get to know the actual values of buffend, offjet, previous bit, maxlen, buffer. When you know this is actually the symbol table what we want. But this symbol table was not able to be created in single shot because there is a multiple dependency of a various label. Thereby, we need to reiterate the process for some more time such that we'll get the symbol table of our choice at the end. So what is the point here now? Whenever you have a multiple forward references for a multiple labels, nothing to worry. Only thing is we need to incur an additional data structure called as a linked list, and that how that linked list is growing is what we have to see. So as and when a new label is encountered which is undefined, that label will be entered into the symbol table along with the number of required labels and the list of labels. At the same time, the label name is also entered back into the symbol table with the information that once that value is known, where this value need to be used. Like this, from first line till the end of the program, we keep doing that. So your symbol table will kept on growing. How long? Until you reach all the labels are done. So that is the first iteration. Like second, third, fourth iteration, depending upon the number of iteration. The last but one iteration would have given all the information, and the final iteration will give you the symbol table, which is of our requirement as shown in the figure last, that is F. If you get this, that means that you have done the job of completing all the forward references. Now I can go ahead with the assembly of the program without any issue. So that is the idea behind multi-pass assembly. So it is a single pass or a multiple pass. The extra burden or overhead required is a linked list. How do we deal might be different depending upon the number of levels of interdependency, but the process remains same. That is, the additional data structure is what we are going to use in order to make sure that these single pass or one pass assembler and multi-pass assembler are designed without any challenge. So that is the concept of a multi-pass assembler. So any doubts? Any doubts so far? One pass assembler, multi-pass assembler.